Just weeks before his sudden passing, Ray Liotta sat down for what would become one of his final interviews. And what he revealed now carries a weight nobody could have anticipated. He wasn't saying goodbye, he was talking about the future, plans he still had, things he meant to finish. There was no sadness in his voice, no hint of an ending, just a veteran actor with more to give, and that's exactly what makes it so haunting to watch now. Ray Liotta's story begins in 1954 in New Jersey, but from day one his life carried a quiet twist. Given up shortly after birth, he spent his first 6 months in an orphanage before Alfred and Mary Liotta adopted him and brought him home. They were a working-class couple who raised him as their own in Union, New Jersey. He grew up knowing he was adopted. It was never hidden. He even did a show and tell about it as a kid. But knowing didn't make it easy. There was anger there, confusion. The question of how a parent could walk away from their child stayed with him for years. He had no grand plan coming out of high school. He headed to the University of Miami mostly because he needed somewhere to go. He walked out of his SATs, figured construction was probably his future. Then, one afternoon, standing in a college registration line, he spotted a friend in the drama department queue. On impulse, he joined her. It felt random, almost like a joke, but something clicked. Acting gave him a direction he didn't know he was looking for. By 1978, he had his degree, and for the first time, the road ahead didn't feel so blurry. New York City, a bartending gig to pay the bills, auditions on the side. Within 6 months, he had an agent. His first real break came playing Joey Perini on the soap opera Another World, the sweet, dependable young hero. A far cry from the intensity he'd later become known for, but it gave him experience, it gave him confidence, it built the foundation. By 1986, he was 30 years old and still waiting for his shot in film. His agent couldn't even get him in the room for Something Wild, so he swallowed his pride and called in a connection, his classmate Melanie Griffith, who made one phone call to director Jonathan Demme. That one call changed everything. Liotta auditioned, walked into that room, and unleashed something raw and unpredictable. By Thursday, the phone rang. The role was his. When Something Wild hit theaters, he didn't just appear on screen, he exploded onto it. A Golden Globe nomination followed, and Hollywood finally knew his name. But the role that sealed his legacy came in 1990. Henry Hill in Goodfellas, directed by Martin Scorsese. Every serious actor in Hollywood wanted that part. The studio had doubts. Tom Cruise was reportedly discussed for the role. Liotta didn't wait quietly. He literally cornered producer Irwin Winkler outside a Los Angeles restaurant and made his case face-to-face. Winkler called Scorsese the very next day. The role was his. What followed was one of the most emotionally demanding shoots of his career. Midway through filming, Liotta received the call that his mother was dying. Scorsese went straight to his trailer, told him to go be with her, that nothing about the movie mattered more than that. But Liotta insisted on staying to finish the day's work. They filmed a celebration scene that afternoon, full of laughter, swagger, and joy. But underneath it, the entire cast and crew were quietly rallying around a man in grief. Scorsese later said he had never experienced anything like it, and never had again. Goodfellas became a landmark, and Henry Hill became one of cinema's most iconic performances. The role also became Liotta's shadow. No matter how many good guys he played, Shoeless Joe Jackson in Field of Dreams, romantic leads, family men, audiences always came back to Henry Hill. And honestly, he made peace with that. He described Goodfellas as a movie that never lets up. He was genuinely amazed by how it kept finding new audiences. Kids who weren't even born when it came out walking up to him, calling him the Goodfellas guy. There was no bitterness in him when he talked about it, just quiet disbelief at the staying power. Then, in May 2022, Hollywood lost him. Ray Liotta passed away at 67, peacefully in his sleep, in the Dominican Republic, on set, filming a thriller called Dangerous Waters. Even at the very end, he was still working, still in the game. Martin Scorsese spoke about him with unmistakable emotion, remembering his fearlessness, his unpredictability, his courage. For Scorsese, Goodfellas wasn't just another project, it was something lasting, something to always be proud of. Ray Liotta never stopped moving, never stopped building, and the legacy he left behind is still finding new audiences every single day. This has been Hollywood Unseen, where the real stories behind Hollywood finally get told. If you want more deep dives like this one, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. New stories drop every week. We'll see you next time.